Scott O. Back pocket, Scott.
All right, so I'm going to talk to you about the yearly reflection meeting that happens by April 15th. I may call it the April meeting. Sometimes when I'm talking about it, I call it the April meeting. It's not necessarily exactly in April or April 15th, but by April 15th, you have that reflection meeting. So back in October, by October 15th, you've turned in the goals form that we just looked at. You have turned in your professional growth plan, some of you next year, some of you the year after. And then what you do is those go to your supervisor, and then you go through the year, and then in April, you will meet with your supervisor. They will, before you meet in April, you will turn in this form right here. You'll get out your pen as a certified teacher, and you will circle where you believe you are. What page is this on? Okay, so 56. All right, so I'm sitting down, I'm reflecting on the year, and I'm circling, oh, okay, I'm here, ooh, I need a little improvement there. Oh, I'm great here. I take that and I turn it into my supervisor. Then they have some time to process it, compare it to all of their mini observation notes, and think about the discussion that they're going to have with you. One thing we thought about was that you actually bring this to your April meeting and you sit down with your supervisor. But we thought that might not be a good idea because your supervisor may need to look and say, well, do I agree with how they've assessed themselves? And in any area where I don't, whether I think they're actually doing better than they think or maybe not quite as good, you plan for that discussion. Okay, so they have that form, then you meet. As you're there, you have that discussion with your supervisor, and then they will highlight where they believe you are. So that's just, we had to find some way to distinguish between, okay, is this what the teacher said, or the certified said, or is this what the supervisor said? So those instructions are at the top just because it makes it easier if you can just look at it and remember there. So you're circling, they're highlighting. At that meeting, you have three things again. Let's go over it again. You have your professional growth plan, your goals form, and this form. So you're sitting down with those three things. Along with the professional growth, you would also have all the documentation showing what you've done. So you'll see in the booklet there, I think it's on 48 is the professional growth form, and then in the pages after that it shows you how you document what you've done for professional growth. You would bring that with you. So you can say, okay, here were my goals, here's some evidence on how I met those goals, here's my professional growth form, here's the evidence of how I met my professional growth. And supervisor, you already have my yearly evaluation form with my personal evaluation of my own teaching this year. Let's discuss and see where you highlight. I think I got everything I needed to say there. Oh yeah. Teacher's response as provided by law. Following attachments are part of the report. It reiterates what I'm saying there, the goal setting and professional growth plan. And then the supervisor's recommendation, sign, date, and we're good from there. Sure, yes. That's right. Date to get this.
Important question. Professional growth plan, 2012-2013. Goal setting form, this year.
That's right.
And the yearly evaluation form, this year.
Yes, all these things again. Michelle had a good question. Okay, so her question was, is the goals form starting this year? Yes. The professional growth form, my very dry and invisible joke earlier about some people will start this year and some people will start next year, didn't quite get it through, that's next year. Next year. Professional growth form is next year. So this year you show up with your goals form and the yearly evaluation form on 54, 56. Okay, goals form, yearly evaluation. That's what you have with you at the April meeting this year. The following school year, 12-13, is that right? Yeah. 12-13, you would have your professional growth form and all of your documentation.
So on the yearly evaluation form, we're just doing 1 through 13.
Yes. Also on the yearly evaluation form this year, it's just 1 through 13, which go to domains 1, 2, and 3. So those are the standards 1 through 13, unless you're some kind of a specialist, right? I don't remember what page, maybe 14 or so. there was a page of specialists and it said which standards they are evaluated on this year. So for me in student services, it says 1 through 6, 18 through 24. Well, we're not doing 18 through 24 as our focus this year. So my focus is really on 1 through 6. Hopefully that's clear. Sure. Okay, so we go back just 2 slides. Yeah, all right. So here on the yearly evaluation form this year, our focus is on 1 through 13. So this page and the second page. But someone like me or Maria, who is in student services, we have different standards that we're looking at. And they are back there on, I think it was 13. On page 13, school nurses, counselors, media specialists, TOSA. So for someone like me in student services, my focus is on 1 through 6. Okay? For most people who are certified teacher, you're on 1 through 13. Would it pay to just have everybody ask each other, what are the 3 things you bring to the April meeting, and in 12-13, what are the 2 things you bring this year? A little check for understanding.
This is a Dana question and maybe a Patty question. So if you're ELL or SPED, are the building administrators doing this, or are you guys doing, your department's doing it? How are we doing ELL, SPED, nursing, anything that's speech? Because they're certified people in our buildings, but who's doing the evaluation?
My understanding, and what I'm going to do for ELL, is that if they are itinerant, if they're assigned to more than one site, then I am responsible for their formal evaluation. If they are only at a single site, then you are responsible for their formal evaluation. My personal goal is that I'm going to do the mini observations on all of my staff so that I can do my curriculum planning, my PLC time, all of those things, and that I've got that information. So for goal setting, for example, I would be responsible for my itinerant staff, and I would make sure you get a copy of the goals, and I would hope for the ELL teacher that you have, that you would send me a copy of her goals, and that we would kind of tag team some of those things. But full-time in the building is your responsibility, itinerant is mine.
Any questions? What does special ed have to say, Patty?
As it stands right now, and it will continue for this next year, I believe, Jim and Pam and I will be evaluating all specialists, especially those that are itinerant, but also those that are specialized, even though they may only be in your building, and that would be mainly those speech pathologists. We are still doing speech pathologists, we are still doing school psychologists, we're still doing nurses, we're still doing adaptive PE, we're still doing all our behavior cluster teachers and classified. And we would love to be able to do that jointly with you. We hope to improve in sharing goals back and forth and sharing any concerns back and forth, and to continue down the road to look for a system perhaps where for those that are primarily in your building, as Dana is with ELL, you would do those, such as the speech paths. But right now we're so itinerant with so many, with almost all of our staff, that we're going to continue to do it the way we are, and we're open to suggestions. Oh, ERC, SRC, life skills are still your babies because they're in your school full time. And again, we'll be doing the Bridges Autism, the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, all those other cluster programs, behavior programs that are off campus or in a school, but clustered district-wide. Does that make sense? ERC, SRC, and life skills are yours.
So Patty, for the first group you mentioned, the SLGs, etc., will you be doing the mini visits?
Yes. Yeah. You're welcome to do some too, and if you see something that we don't see as we're driving all over the district, let us know. Thank you.
Got a question here. On the evaluation form during the year, if you have a necessary an improvement, number 2 there, does that trigger the improvement cycle with one of those?
At the end of the year.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. So you in to be into the same, to be to the growth cycle, you have to have a 3 or a 4 all the way through. Is that correct?
If you look back at the contract teachers improvement cycle at the very bottom of the page. So if we go back to page 9, at the very, excuse me, page 8, the growth cycle, and if you are having your yearly reflection meeting, and at that time, after you've reviewed this rubric, yes, it can trigger a move to the improvement cycle.
But with that or not? I mean, does it trigger no matter what, or is it automatic, or is it?
You, as an administrator, makes that choice. Is it something that you feel that they need to go on, or are you going to wait and do those few mini? There's 2 more mini observations at the end of every year, so April 15th to June, and at any time throughout the year, even after those, you can choose to put somebody on the improvement cycle.
We've been a wet sponge and we're getting full, so it's very important at this point to write down questions. There's a space on the wall over here for questions, as well as parking lot ideas. I don't get this. That's really important to do today, because tomorrow we may be discussing those things. So we don't want you guys to leave this week without having those questions answered and knowing where the road is headed. So make sure you write those things down. Karen, did I say that okay? Tomorrow they're meeting in the morning with the presenters so they can go over some of those things and make sure we're covered. Okay? You're great. Yeah?
All right, this is our alignment between our new evaluation system and the InTask standards. These are the Interstate Teacher Assessment and Support Consortium standards that may at some point be adopted by the state of Oregon for teacher evaluation. We're just showing here that we've made sure to be aligned with those standards. And then the glossary. A lot of time actually went into all of the terms on the glossary, really went through with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that it was as clear as possible. So please go through it, use it as a reference, and let us know if something isn't clear so that round 2 we can continue to work on it. Okay, thanks a lot.
Scott? All right, now that you've had practice to know what time it is, Al, what time was it?
9 o'clock.
Thank you very much. You saw the gorilla and the changing curtain color. We've got a whodunit. So,
one comment that you could do done whatever. The regarding those, what Scott shared right at the very end, the InTask standards, the legislature passed a bill that requires TSPC to adopt, requires districts to have a standard-based assessment system, and requires TSPC to have teaching standards identified. And the expectation is TSPC is going to adopt the InTask standards as those formal state standards. And so that's why that correlation actually is important. It makes some sense.
perfect. Thanks, Ron. Whodunit? See what you observe. Believe me, you won't get half of them. Okay? Here we go.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's coat below stairs, sir. I was planting my petunias in the potting shed. Constable, arrest Lady Smythe. But how did you know? Madam, as any horticulturist will tell you, one does not plant petunias until May is out. Take her away. It's just a matter of observation. The real question is, how observant were you? Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts and precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's skirts below stairs. I was planting my petunias in the rocking chair. Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
Yeah, so hopefully we've given you some tools today to recognize some things, even though we may not catch it all. That is certainly the focus of tomorrow as well. Looking for those things, being consistent as we look at the things that we're going to be evaluating and observing. So, a little clip to help us get there.